This time it's nighttime. It's actually my first time filming at night. And luckily this camera does pretty well. Like I can't really tell too much of a difference. So I've been watching a lot of cooking fantasy anime shows this past couple of months to get a better idea of how I want to animate the pixel art animations for the game. At first, someone recommended that I watch Delicious in Dungeon when they heard about the game I was working on. And I watched the entire series and it was pretty good. And then from there, I went on to watch like 5 to 10 other anime shows about either cooking or fantasy. I think it helps me think through the concept of the future game system that I'm going to build and helps validate whether I'm on the right track, if someone else had those ideas as well, or gives me some new ideas that I could work on. I even watched some really wacky shows, like there's a show called Reborn as a Vending Machine, Now I Wonder the Dungeon, and it's really, really weird in some ways. It's not that weird for anime, but it's weird in the sense that you wouldn't really think about rebirth animes as becoming an object. I'll add some examples to the screen so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. There's a lot of cool cooking scenes or concepts in these shows. I always collect screenshots in case I ever want to reference them later on, kind of like a mood board. So now for this week's update. We are in the middle of creating, I think, almost all of the game systems for the first world of the game. As I mentioned a while ago, I'm going to release the game world by world because there's just going to be a lot of content and I don't want this to be like a several year development cycle without any feedback. But I didn't even make the connection until, just today actually, that all of the systems that I'm building out for the first quest line are going to be the only systems that are available in World 1. So I was wondering why it's taking such a long time to just get a working first proof of concept initial quest line, but I think this makes a lot more sense. I'm essentially building out the bulk of the content in this first round. This will probably be a good way to introduce the player to a lot of the initial systems, kind of like a tutorial, but I'll have to make sure that the game stays interesting by building on the existing systems and adding future complexities and having them intertwine and so on. In this 2-week sprint, I strove to complete 3 game systems. I kind of did 2.5. I made the stove system. I decided to decouple the oven and the stove from each other because this is a cooking game. I do want the ability to have complex systems for both. I think that would be really cool. I worked on the crafting system and table and the back end for the storage chest. So let's start by looking at crafting. Alright, so we're in the game. We have our crafting table here in town. It has a bunch of random tools on it and one of those like push pin boards. I'm not sure whether this will be the final iteration of the crafting table, but I think I'm gonna wait until I have built out the rest of the NPCs and stations and also the background to decide how to change this. I think this is a good first shot. When we go to the crafting table, it opens the crafting modal and you can see this is the empty view. When you don't know any recipes, it looks like this. Since we're making the jelly in this round, I have a bunch of different recipes that are categorized into materials, and then within each category I have subsections because once there are tens of things in here, it'll be good to have some organization going on. I also have this filter button. Right now there's no drop down if you were to press on it, but in the future I want to make it such that you could filter to the recipes that you need for quests, the things that you can craft, and things like that. I'm not sure yet. I might remove it, I might keep it. We'll see how long these lists end up getting. So going to the inventory, there will be a quest that will give you your first crafting recipe, but for testing purposes now, I've just put it in the inventory. For everything you can cook, you're going to have the ingredients and then also a cooking utensil that will be used up gradually. This update also included the concept of consumable items. You can take a regular item and then hold on it in order to learn it. Now we're going to just hold on this and then it will consume it. I'll probably have it make a sound in the future. That would be cool. You can see here we have our first utensil recipe. One more comment on utensils. I decided to add some more complexity to the game by allowing you to rank up a crafting recipe. You can see here that this utensil is taking copper bars right now. It takes 2 copper bars, but as you level up, there'll be a progress bar here that will show more experience, and then you will have to use another higher level metal in order to craft the next utensil. I think this could be okay because each utensil will have 100 uses or more, but I might allow you to switch between each metal type so that you're not locked in to having to craft the next level of metal if your mining skill is lagging behind. I'm just going to craft here and you can see it shows you how many you have in your inventory, the success rate, and so on. And we're just gonna rank up. Now we can go and check the inventory. So we have a bunch of jelly molds now. So now we have a stove station. I did take some inspiration from old school stoves where you have a section below to put your coal to add heat to the stove. But then you have, of course, the modernity of like an induction hob. So there we go. So we have our stove modal. This is where all of the hobs will go, and then the output. And then you have the recipes that you know. You don't know any recipes yet, so it's blank. And then we have our upgrades, various upgrades. So you have the cooking stat preview, and then you can upgrade the stove hobs, cooking speed, pots and pans, which will change color as you upgrade your stove. The number of different kinds of food outputs you can have. This will be very useful in the future if I allow the player to create a restaurant, so you can have maybe different cooking flows that the user can take advantage of. And then the stove will drop cards, which I still have to create actually. I should probably make a ticket for that. So we're just gonna learn this. Now you can see that we have our recipe here. So we have our jelly recipe, and it shows you how many cycles you can get out of it depending on how many ingredients and utensils you have. In the future, this section here will actually have the cooking animation. I do want to animate every single recipe to show the user how it would be made. I think that's the fun part of it. Whenever I'm watching a cooking anime, I think one of the most exciting parts is when they show the like super delectable food. So I hope to create a pixelated version of that. And one key distinction with this stove system as compared to the crafting system is it's pulling the ingredients and the utensils from the storage rather than from the inventory. I think this is more so because it's like one of those automated systems that's running in the background. I don't want to necessarily pull from the inventory. This will also add some incentive to expand the storage. So we can start cooking this item here, and then it shows you the cooking progress with this little flame that's repurposed from the furnace. You can also go back and see the cooking progress in the main screen. We'll have a bunch of different hobs here. Why don't we actually upgrade so that we can see that a little bit? So you can see here that we can scroll between the hobs. There we have that update. I'm going to put the progress towards the major milestone on the screen right now to show where we are and show where we're going. I'm going to be making the storage chest and its interface as well as the altar system. The altar system is going to be pretty intense because it's going to hold a lot of the different upgrades for the game. There's going to be different goddesses and blessings and prayers that you can make. So I want to take my time on this one. We're doing 1.5 game systems this time, not being so aggressive because I think I bit off too much last time. I felt pretty overwhelmed. So we're going to rein it back and be a bit more realistic this week, and I think that should be great. And with that, I will see you in 2 weeks with the next update.